So he was like, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make sure that it fits all your requirements, except the one thing that it has is cracks. There are 4 2x4s set back next to each other, so there's cracks in between. So what he said was, I think I can put some resin in it. And we were talking about it the other night, and he said, I'm going to put some resin in it. It'll fill in the cracks. And it's like the same thing that they use in restaurants. And you know how, like, sometimes they'll put things under it. He said, you could even put pictures under it. So here I am measuring. I had printed out pictures ahead of time in order to place on the table and use with the resin. And I was deciding how long is the table. It ends up being 96 inches by 36 inches, and understanding that photos are 4 by 6, I kind of did a little bit of division. And that's what I'm doing right here. Trying to see, I have a lot of vertical photos, so those would be 4 inches across, but a couple of horizontal. So I tried to kind of make decisions based on how many inches I wanted in between each picture and how many I wanted on each side. I landed on 9 on the right and the left, and then 3 on the top and the bottom. So I'm just kind of marking very lightly with a pencil. My husband is the one that made the table, and he's a little bit it's like his baby. He doesn't want me to do the glue. He wants to make sure that it's done the way he wants it. So I am just marking where I want the pictures. I went and picked them up this morning, and I will be laying them and taking a picture that I'll include at the end of the process. And then he will be gluing them on tonight and then glazing it. And hopefully by the end of this weekend, we'll be able to use it as our family table, because right now we are using a folding white folding table, plastic, and the kids can bump it and move it very easily. So I am hoping that we'll be able to eat on it and enjoy it as a table that is sturdy. As you can tell by watching, it is a very thick and sturdy table. So we're hoping that that will work. He asked me what color, and I said, this is the color I want. It's, I think it's called Magic Mint. It is from Lowe's, and it is just beautiful. And it's what I would like us to do the cabinets in once we do our kitchen, which won't be happening for another year or so. But when we redo the kitchen, I'd love to do the cabinets in that color. And I thought, oh, it would be fun to kind of have it match and work like that. So, and I apologize also in advance for the next part of the video. I had recorded it after spending some time with the Lord and just crying out to Him and listening to some worship music. And it was fresh on my mind, but I did not, at the fresh on my mind point, get a microphone. So it may be a little bit quieter, and I apologize in advance for the sound quality of the last part, but I felt it was important and wanted to get it fresh, and don't feel I can really record with the same feeling as what I had felt at the end of that time. So anyway, sometimes the right choice is letting the kids run outside, even if some of them are just diapered, which my 3-year-old, that's his favorite way to be. I can get him dressed, and 5 minutes later, he's in his diaper again. So anyway, as long as they're safe, and our backyard is very well protected from the elements, there is a hill on either side, and really our house is in front of it. So I don't mind so much if he's playing outside in the back, for him just to play like he feels the most comfortable. And so here I'm showing the X's where I wrote in pencil where I'd like the edges of the photos to go. And I will be showing upcoming my mathematics, the way that I figured it out and what I used to do the project. Hello, friends. I have a lot on my mind. and just thoughts and things I could share from a mom that's doing a lot to other moms that are doing a lot and dealing with a lot. We're just coming to a new season, and I think every season comes with a lot of new struggles with learning how to incorporate everybody into what we're doing. I went with 4 of the kids the other day to get some shoes for Zach and to get a couple other things that we needed for school starting. Woohoo! But when I went, I had a 8-month-old, I had a 3-year-old, I had a 5-year-old, and I had my 14-year-old, and it was so easy. Now that any mom of a lot of young kids understands that that's not typically easy. But I think what I'm realizing is just moving Asher in and out of the car, moving the wheelchair in and out of the car. There is a lot of physical labor that comes with taking him anywhere, because we aren't certain if there's going to be a cart that will work for him, and he is past the size of being able to sit in the front. So it either means pushing the wheelchair and bribing a child to push the cart, or bribing a child to push the wheelchair and pushing the cart, or hoping that there is a cart that accommodates, or just putting him, I have in the past put him in a baby carrier, but then if Hannah starts to fuss, it's a really difficult thing, plus the fact that he is a lot taller than a baby is. So it's been a lot of thinking about that, just understanding that outings are different now. And as hard as it is to get out with a lot of little people, it's even harder to maneuver a person that's not ambulatory. So that, and the fact that the kids have been excited about a VBS, and this has been something I've probably been dreading since Asher was born, where they are of an age where they can attend. They are 5 years old, and it's 5 years and up. So Asher cannot independently use the toilet, and that is a requirement for the VBS. So I either have to send Jonah without Asher, or make sure that I am there and doing it. And that's 5 nights a week after everything else that happens in this house. So it just feels heavy. It feels heavy this week, and I wonder if there's anyone out there that just feels heavy. And I sent a quick text message to a prayer group that I'm in, asking them to agree with me that I stand with the one whose burden is easy and his yoke is light. And I'm going to stand in agreement with you on that as well. And when circumstances look different than that we can stand on that and trust in that, and that when I am feeling heavy, the reason I am feeling that is because I feel like I have to figure it all out on my own. I said before, there's a lot of physical labor. There's also a lot of mental planning whenever we go out about what kind of building we're going in, how close together the aisles are, how the parking lot looks, where I'm going to be able to park and still be able to get the wheelchair out and get it around to where it needs to go, where there are ramps so I can get in if there are more than 1 stories to the place that we go. So it's just a lot of mental, emotional, and physical labor, and I can either choose to think that it's all on me, or I can choose to think that the one who promises his yoke is easy and his burden is light hears me and sees me and hears Asher and sees Asher and knows exactly what I'm going to be facing. So a part of this video, and this is a little different than what I'm going to be doing, I'm gearing up to do a series on teaching letters. Orton Gillingham phonograms and phonics are one of my favorite things to teach because you can just make so many games and so many fun things, and so I really enjoy that. And we're going to be doing some things with that, starting off with single phonograms on top of double or triple or quadruple phonograms, beyond that, so that you can see the different actions that we use, you can see the different games that we use. It's going to be a 12-part series, and I'm super excited about doing that. I also am going to do, before I kick that off, some seasonal large family tips, where we talk about some different things that we can do seasonally in the summer to keep everyone together. I think that's partially why a lot of this is on my mind, because there is a lot of planning involved. There's a lot of things, and I think going out with the 4 really highlighted it to me that that it's hard and that I think sometimes if you're used to doing it day in and day out, you don't even realize how hard it is until you don't have to do it. So a lot of that is going through my mind as well. I'm excited to share some of the tips that I have learned throughout the years to make sure that all the children I leave with are all the children that come back with me. I did one time have an extra kid get in our car, and it's a super funny story, but maybe for another time. But anyway, one of the things Mike has been doing, and you can see behind me, there is a table saw, because he's using his table saw to make a table. This is just one of those things. So I have gone to therapy in the past, and I've had the person tell me, you need to have more self-care. You need to have more time to yourself. And I think that's very frustrating, that, and when people say you need to pare down your activities, when I'm like, honestly, my activities are therapy for my child. So no thanks, I can't do that. But anyway, I think what I realized when she was saying that was it was just making me frustrated. I was frustrated at the kids that would interrupt anything I attempted, and just felt guilty, like I'm not doing what I need to do to take care of my family, but I don't know how to. So one of the things that I started practicing was just finding small joys. So finding small joys, because God will always give us those small little, my mom calls them God kisses. They're little things that we can find in our day to just take a moment, breathe it in, and say thank you. And that can be just as life-giving as taking an hour out in nature running around. Not to say that that's bad, but if you can't do that, what can you find today that will make you feel a little of that joy? And so for me, one of the really special things about him making a table is that my grandmother's father made a table for their family, and it's actually at my parents' house now. So there have been so many joyful family meals on that table, and I'm just so excited that Mike is making this table. But one thing I said at the very beginning of our move here was that I did not want any cracks in our dining room table. Anybody with a lot of little children, and when you have a lot of people, you feed a lot of rice, because rice fills bellies and it's cheap. So anybody with a lot of little children that eat rice understands why I don't want to have cracks in my table, because it just attracts the food, and if it's small, it's going to stick in there. It's harder to clean. So anyway, I had found one on Amazon. It never got delivered. So he was like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make sure that it fits all your requirements. Except the one thing that it has is cracks. There are 4 2x4s set back next to each other, so there's cracks in between. So what he said was, I think I can put some resin in it. And we were talking about it the other night, and he said, I'm going to put some resin in it. It'll fill in the cracks. And it's like the same thing that they use in restaurants. And you know how like sometimes they'll put things under it. He said, you could even put pictures under it. And I was like, seriously? So I was like, I want to put a picture of each kid on the table. And I thought, how precious that I can think about all of those sweet memories that came from my grandmother's table that her father made, and pray over each child as I see them, and really just have joy that comes when I look at them. And that's another, wow, I can find some joy when I'm walking past that table. I can breathe and say thank you for the gifts that you have given us. Another little thing that is silly as can be, but I love is, and I can link it down below, I have like a flower that I can push on with my soap sponge. I love Scrub Daddies. I've like completely converted, but I push on with my Scrub Daddy, and this is made by Scrub Daddy. Push it on, not sponsored. Push it on, get the soap, and then wash the dishes with it, and it just makes me happy. Every time I push that little flower down, it makes me happy, and so I can say, thank you, God, for the soap, right? And then scents of soap. Sorry, I'm making sure my children are not going out in the road. I may have to pause this a minute. I think they're going into our fence. They like to hang on it and ride back and forth. Yeah, they're good. So anyway, I will show a little bit of how we're making that, although my husband, because he's making it, is a little possessive of it, so he doesn't want me to glue the pictures. But what I will do is measure the table. I got 4x6s printed. I have, I think, 24 that are at the Walmart right now, so I can go and get those. And I will set them up and then kind of mark where I want them glued. And then hopefully in the next video, I'll post the finished product. But it just makes me so happy thinking about that. And again, if you've been told, make time for self-care, and you feel more guilty and frustrated knowing that you're supposed to be doing that than you did before, that's not the advice for you. The advice I would have for you, if you were asking me, how can I infuse joy back into a very overwhelming day, would be to find small snippets of joy, to pick the flowers that are in your backyard and put them in a vase, to make a flower crown for yourself or your children, to slow down enough and walk with them, or slow down enough and read a book, to find one way to kind of feed your soul, to color a picture while they're coloring a picture, to paint together, watch a YouTube. I one time watched a YouTube. It was very important to me to draw a picture of a flower with raindrops, because I felt like a lot of what was happening at that time felt stormy. But I wanted to show that flowers grow best in that type of environment, so that to say, hey, there is joy to be found in every experience. And so I looked up a YouTube. Of course, there's always YouTubes for everything, on how to draw raindrops. And so I painted raindrops on that flower, and it still hangs in our house today. So find something small that you can work into your already routines of the day. Another thing is just, hey, I got peppers and I put those peppers in my eggs, and that makes me so happy to have peppers in my eggs in the morning. Or to use like my favorite pan, or to learn a new skill, something that can be a part of your family life, but that can feed your soul. Would be where I would say to go. And also just to remember that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And that if you're feeling heavy, that maybe your focus is on the wrong place, because we aren't meant to carry it all. It's not God won't give you more than you can handle. It's God will give you exactly what it takes to draw you near to Him and to understand the gospel, that He is able to do exceedingly and abundantly more than anything we could ever imagine, but that we aren't to do it on our own, that He can do it through us and in us. So I hope that your week is well. I hope that any heaviness, I pray that any heaviness is able to be lifted, and that you're able to take on the yoke and burden of the Lord, because it's easy and light. Goodbye, friends.